Is a physician from Mexico specialized in internal medicine and geriatrics. In addition to his medical degrees, he also holds a PhD. He has a special interest on frailty research in older adults. He has published over 80 peer-reviewed papers. He also co-edited a book on aging methodological research and authored several book chapters. He has collaborated with several geriatricians and aging researchers.
This invitation to present something that we are teaching, frailty. So I will go through my presentation trying to fulfill the objectives of this presentation, understand the current state of frailty education in this specific area of social media. So I will review some examples, also showing you some results of some research we have done on this topic. And we'll give an overview of those gaps that in my opinion, are now somehow worrisome or are maybe challenging the future of frailty on aging and geriatrics and the education. First of all, I want to show you this video. So this is Delphi is an artificial intelligence-based software that answers questions on a moral basis. So since I have the difficulty to show you why it is so important to everyone to know about frailty, I then asked Delphi, and then Delphi says educating or teaching frailty in older adults, it's good. So it's a good thing. Now I think I just ask another couple of questions because there's a huge difficulty to show causality from education to someone who cares for an older adult and see the outcomes. There's a lot in place. So for now, I can only speculate with this artificial intelligence machine. And okay, if I struck, even if I don't know, it's still okay. But then finally, I asked Delphi what Delphi thinks on a moral basis, and keeping in mind that it's an artificial intelligence. What does Delphi thinks about those who care for older people and not knowing about frailty? So Delphi says it's bad. So yeah, I agree with Delphi. It's bad. So what's happening right now? So in the latest years, we have already this out. I mean, there is a lot written about geriatrics education and how was evolved this education. And I mean, not only geriatrics, almost any discipline has been impacted by internet, but it's quite not the same. I mean, it's a little bit different from traditional education. This how we incorporate some resources from the web. But right now, there's a twitch. You can see this is from 2007. I could say that about 2016, everything has been changing quite quickly. I will try to show you why. So yes, I was once young and a resident in training. And yes, since then, we had some resources like the Palms and the CLIES and another number of resources, electronic resources. I had the Harrison's internal medicine in those, but those are pretty similar to traditional resources. So that's similar to a book. It was not that much different. The format changed. Here we are starting to see the changes. So we went from traditional resources, ebooks, journals that now are only electronic, and transitioning into some training with multimedia that it's also starting to move, going through these now that it's our topic. I will try to show you what's out there, what people are thinking. And I think this was also accelerated because of the pandemic. Because of the pandemic, we started to see how powerful these tools were, not only to take those as a tool and say, okay, I will just use this as a tool, and there's no, just to take it, everything from there as the total truth of something. So how are we taking that in medical education, and especially in geriatrics and in the field of aging? Well, other fields are already pretty aware of what is happening. This is, for example, this article right here it's very critical about YouTube information. It develops a nice methodology criticizing how this idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis is not accurate. It's giving problems to people, and it's supposed to be accurate, but it is not. There are another methods. One thing is developing as tools. Oh, sorry about that. And we also have more recently, and my guess is that podcasts started to get more popular with the pandemic. I mean, podcasts formerly known as radio, right? So what evidence shows? I have this nice review when only YouTube videos were analyzed, and a number of features of these videos were analyzed, and some information worrisome somehow on how they are used and how we can manage or assess them. For example, 90% of surgeons has used a video on YouTube, and almost 25% at least once a week. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just for trying to fill a gap on some strange disease. No, it's everywhere, and it's in everyday caring of healthcare. Social media is used. This is kind of my point also from the presentation. Social media is used more frequently compared to what is already curated, what is already nicely performed with nice quality, evidence-based from scientific groups and societies. Almost 3 times more visited the YouTube videos than those sources that are without the authoritative information. 43%, and this was also one of my motivations to do this. When my sister is now a medical student, and I see how she studies. She goes to YouTube. She doesn't goes to a book. It's super strange. I mean, topics go from just simple medical examination. So there's a mole, please check my mole, to intubation. I mean, I haven't looked for, but I think we could also have neurosurgery maybe there. They found something when evaluating from here the description of what is happening, but the longer the better, the longer the video, the better the quality score. But we have a problem here. Quality scores are evaluated by academic people. So they usually don't match very well with those user metrics. So basically user metrics is popularity. How popular is a video on something? There are some indexes that I will explain later. And we right now have the opportunity to use those indexes and start to get the knowledge of how this is used. And I think we need to move a bit more faster and also start gathering more information on how we can impact this. Here in this graph, you can see, of course, those with academic physicians have the better quality scores. Keep in mind that quality scores are almost only assessed by those who are already into the academics. So it's kind of biased maybe, but this is as good as it gets right now. So maybe we can figure out something together this morning. And not only medicine is impacted, we have impact already, and we are start becoming aware on aging, but specifically on frailty. This study here, it's about frailty and the they evaluated Frailty videos in YouTube. And as you can see here, we have the user, the metrics, and the quality measurements. So it's kind of different what we can find. We can also have some other information about those videos. For example, what they are about. As you can see, prevention, risk factors, symptoms. Dr. as a speaker, we have a lot of this on YouTube. Someone just giving a lecture or someone giving an interview. This is really flooded in the YouTube about these speakers or influencers in almost any media. So it's starting to go into geriatrics too. This study showed about 75 videos, and it is worth to highlight that this study only included videos with duration of 30 minutes or lower. That started to be kind of surprising to me. And also keep in mind, because we have very different results from what they did, they included any video from almost any time that was uploaded. That's an important thing to say. So yeah, I'll try to use new resources when all this start to come to my mind and say what I will do. Well, let's start doing something. But yeah, it is true that even that I feel that I am a native and technology native, what was the so-called technology, I think I'm getting behind a lot of technology stuff. We have students. The students, they do know a lot of this, and they do correct a number of mistakes that what we do when we start trying to incorporate or start to delve what is happening in social media. They are so quick. They know the tricks of everything. So I have my collaborators, my students also were a huge part of this project. So we prepared a search, a project in order to see what was out there and not limiting it to YouTube, because that would be misleading and will not give us a complete picture of what's happening. We like to know what is happening out there, going from the most traditional educational media to the latest as possible, because as you will see in the discussion, we couldn't just embrace everything. So we use a simple search from 2000, those uploaded from 2016 to 2021, limited our search. We screened them because, as you will see, there were a lot of results. Then do a quality assessment, but also see what we can do about user metrics. Mainly, user metrics are useful in YouTube because YouTube shows you right there how many comments, how many subscriptions for that channel, how many likes, how many dislikes. It even has some indexes that I will explain a bit later. So we use general search terms. And this was my first mistake here when I was corrected by my students that said, you need to disable your user. So if you search in YouTube with your user, that search will be biased according to your previous searches. So you need to be like a new user for that search. So you need to disable as much as you can in your computer of what can be identified and integrated in an algorithm that gives you results already biased by AI, things like Delphi. So we went not only into YouTube, but we also did a search of web pages, apps, educational platforms, podcasts, and of course, YouTube videos. So this is what we found in this quick assessment. This first part was done by my students, undergraduate medical students. And the second part was done by me and a collaborator, a master in science, not a physician, but already into AG. From 1,628, we went down to 93 resources only. What you will find if you try to reproduce or you do your own searches is that you will find a huge amount of duplicates. Mainly what we eliminated were duplicates from this search from the first day. Then in the final resource, what we did was try to do a quality assessment. The advantage of doing a quality assessment with some of the tools that are available is that you can evaluate like these tools like Discern or JAMA Benchmark or QDS. Those are tools designed to assess or tell the user what is a good quality of health information, even written or even multimedia. So you can generalize it, and has been done a lot of times in other papers refer to this methodology. And in the second place, mainly for YouTube, we use some indexes, some user methods, some super interesting results. So I will show you some of our results so you can get a grip of what's happening. Of course, we also limited our search to English-speaking resources. It's difficult to find something that is in other languages, because there's a second lesson. Your IP address will be detected by the search engine, and usually it will not show you results from other countries. It's quite difficult for that. Unless it's from the US or UK, I don't know why, but English results are quite generalizable. If you try to look, for example, Greek, you might not get anything. So starting with web pages, 36. This is interesting because web pages are resources with a cost. You can see here, it is so traditional that it still has some price on it, $86 on average, and only 46%. But many of these 46% for free they do have a version with a price. So that is super interesting. Of course, when you try to evaluate these courses, these are pretty good courses because they incorporate a lot of multimedia, and there are videos, and you have text, and you have manuscripts, and you have interactions, and of course you are evaluated. So it's pretty traditional, and it's pretty close to what we did in the faculty and in our classrooms and our lectures in front of our teachers. The problem with these traditional resources, it's difficult to have or to access to statistics are pretty difficult to find. I will show you the problem of clickability that will be in the discussion. Contrasting with the other resources, these are mainly complete courses, very structured with a lot of material, with a correct structure, instructional, really nice courses. And many of them, they have certification from reputed some institutions of nice and recognized. Here started the transition, and this term was coined as massive open online courses not long time ago. I think it's 2016, with the idea of transitioning to what I will show you next, that is the educational platforms that starts to tweak traditional education into other stuff. So a nice example of what we found on web pages, the clinical frailty scale training model. I guess many of you have already done this. It's a nice education model. I remind from my residency in geriatrics, Cummings had available the NPI, a resource on NPI, and it was very similar. You could access there for free and have a certification. Now, for example, you have the MOCA. The MOCA offers this kind of training for a fee. So I think web pages are okay, are still pretty similar to traditional, but they already started transitioning to another kind of education. And these educational platforms. This, even that they are highly curated, I mean, what I mean with highly curated, they also have a structure. They also have nice information, integration of information, and they do have experts. They start to have some limits on how to access them, and they start to be like merchandised differently from web pages. I mean, those priorities start to shift from education to more a business model. We had four courses in these educational platforms, mainly in these platforms. I am aware that there is Coursera, there's Masterclass, there's a lot of other platforms that are out there. And many of them offer similar courses on web pages, but like with this brand, right? And that starts giving another place. So, and you will see here, it's a really nice design. These are pretty, the designs of it, I found this Frailty in daily living. And as you can see, they already start to use this term of MOOC. This is like the jargon on tech. So, and this is it has its modules, it has its evaluation, but as I told you previously, it is more on the side of the design of the course and not that much on the contents. The contents are good, but still not the same as the more traditional that I showed you. And it's worth noting that these educational platforms also started with the idea of giving courses to caregiving people. So start to shifting also the focus on professionals on healthcare and start also to offering for caregivers. So maybe you will find an option of your frailty course for the professional, but you will also find an option for the caregiver, for one that is dealing with frailty right now. So this start moving, as you can see. Then we go to apps. Apps, it's like the jungle. It's pretty difficult to find because there are at least two main places where you need to search. You need to search Google Apps, and then you need to search Apple Store. Of course, they don't have always the same. As some of you are aware, Apple is much more strict on information-wise. All the apps need to meet some regulations. Google is not that much, but still has to, you need to have some considerations in order to have an app. Of course, none of, not Apple, not Google has anything to do with contents. So the contents are pretty much free for you to do it if you comply with the regulations that are specified. Again, many of the apps are mainly from the US and Canada. Some in Japan, Singapore also has a couple. And the years are mainly in the latest years have much more of the number. Apps are mainly used to upload tools as the CFS to show people how to categorize an older adult as frail or not. Some of them lately are super fancy that are also involving virtual reality. I was impressed by that. I do not have my thing on so I couldn't assess that one. It's not included. But I mean, this is evolving, and the app has the possibility to link with the web page of the person that is there. It has the possibility of having media, multimedia, and of course, to have your app in your phone. That it's a huge, big deal to have it in your hand. So the apps or those educational materials that can be in your hand trump everything else. As you can see, really difficult to find something with really high quality. And many of them are low quality. And interestingly, some of the apps were offered from the beginning, different from I told you later. the App Store and the Google Store also let you have some apps in other languages. This starts then, we can start to having like a user metric. For example, right here, only one app had 5 stars. The rest of the apps were not evaluated. You have this message from Apple that says, oh, not enough evaluation, so we can not say anything. You can comment on the app. So we can start having an idea of how user metrics could shape what is already online and what we can do. So it's interesting. It starts to move also because this is like, you will use what you need, right? You won't use a lot of the stuff that is already there. And since you will not be evaluated, well, you can use it as you like it. This is an example of an app, the CFS evaluation. As you can see, it incorporates video, incorporates images, and nicely referenced. So it's evidence-based. So it's everything right with this app. Available in Google and Apple both. No stars for it, no comments for it. Keep in mind that this also could be a matter of changing the IP address. Maybe if you go to your app store in UK, you will find different results on user metrics. And that would be nice to analyze too. Then is to move already way over and start really to what the jargon of these, those involved in technology would say it's disruptive. I personally hate that term, but I'm a hater, so that's not a problem. Podcasts, formerly known as radio programs, really rise popularity in the latest years. Many of them are not specifically about Frailty. We have a couple, though, and really good podcasts, and are inserted in like this cool podcast that we will talk about something in a really fancy and funny way. This is a problem. I find this really strange because you can have a podcast saying you are one of the Flintstones. No one will say anything to you. You might be aware of what's happening with Spotify and all that kind of stuff. So it's really strange for me. Only 11% of experts, and they already also, as did those educational platforms, they already have also some informational programs for caregivers. So also start shifting to everyone. So we went from the really specialized to those who are really caring for all their adults, going from caregivers. Now, almost anyone can go to a podcast and start hearing without any further problem. I found one with high quality. This is the one with really nice quality. It's specific on Frailty. And it goes into episodes. Those episodes are about different topics on Frailty specifically, and they discuss it in a really structured manner. And here comes another problem of what we are looking there. The only problem that I see, if I think of generalizability, is it's a bit technical. So maybe there are some bits that you won't completely understand if you are not in the field. That might be problematic. Finally, the really big one that it's really changing stuff right now is YouTube. We find 21 YouTube. The great advantage of YouTube, and this is a big field in which we can impact and intervene, is that it has a lot of input of users. So you have comments, you have number of subscriptions to the channel, you have likes, dislikes, and even you have some indexes, as I told you previously. So there is the likes, dislikes rate. So it's number of likes divided by the sum of likes and dislikes. Then you have the visualization rate. Visualization rate is just the days that the video was available divided by the number of visualizations. And then you have the video power index, that it's a combo of these two other rates that grows from 0 to 100. 100 is a super popular YouTube video, a viral video. We don't have those in Frailty because the average of these 21 videos was only 0.015. So it's pretty low. And yeah, quality of the videos also was, it's pretty difficult to assess, but was not that good. Many of those videos are done in North America and UK, even those places really have videos from really high quality and really good institutions. Those are the less videos with visualization, and mainly the majority are from or either influencers or those who make like medical information, general medical information, and try to give something about Frailty, but still not experts in the field. As you can see, also people do not engage that much with Frailty videos. So, well, we are still like going a bit to bit. For example, this video, as you can see, has over 10,000 visualization. This is the video with the highest video power index, but it seems that it's not endorsed by an institution, even that I realized later that it might be from an important institution. As you can see, it is really short. It's like really short. But down from these 10,000 expert and really good videos on YouTube, they are not visualized like 2,000 times the biggest one. So, and VPIs, we don't want to talk about it because they have pretty low VPIs, no engagement, nothing else about it. So here's the big picture that I wanted to show you, what is right now happening from this research we did with our students, and how now I will switch to the discussion on these topics in these final minutes. So this is how I visualize with using the traditional Bloom's taxonomy, going from traditional learning, when you really involve your superior mental abilities and you are able to do stuff and educate people and do high quality because you already have, you know how the cookie crumbles. So this is very important to have traditional learning. The problem with traditional learning is that those who search for traditional learning are already in the field, are already super interested and involved in frailty and aging. People that are not that involved, but still need to know about frailty because they will find older adults and they will have to treat older adults. They are maybe in this part. So web pages, as I told you, are pretty similar to what traditional learning does. Educational platforms, the nice thing about educational platforms is that it's structured and it has room for change. What I've seen, it has room for change. It is identifiable. I mean, you can go with those of edX or those are in a place and they endorse these courses and you can do things about it. Also apps start to be accountable. So you can comment on the apps. You can go and rate the apps. So start also to be a possibility. But we go rogue from here, from podcast, YouTube. Well, and on purpose, I did not want to talk about TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, because from my personal point of view, this cannot even be thought as educational resources, but maybe they are. And maybe we need to start thinking on how this is shaping not geriatrics or every field, and how, for example, Twitter, we already know that this is an arena on see who is the strongest one and who is the aggressive one. And this is the place where people get fired or people get their papers down because of another people starting a fight. This might not be the best way to address education and frailty, but we need to start thinking, even that I do not agree, we need to start thinking on these other resources. And the clickability problem. Okay, I already talked about those algorithms that are there. The algorithm will take you to the best option for the algorithm, for the company, not for you. It's not the best option on frailty. It's not the best qualities. It's not the best for you. No, it's the best for me. And that will reflect on our need to have something right now. So the less clicks I give to my phone, to my computer, to my tablet, the better and the quicker I will get the resource and the answer, allegedly the answer. So that's a huge problem that we have. We still, I still don't understand how will the algorithm on voice activated resources or even ubiquitous technology or the technology of things. I mean, if a refrigerator knows that I eat some yogurt in the morning, will that impact my search on frailty resources? I don't know. So those are challenges that are coming. It's out there. It's going to be a problem. Media has been addressing this like very, very slowly because of course they are part of it. And this problem has been studied really, really nice and with nice evidence on politics and how it is shaping decisions on people and how it will maybe change the future of how we talk each other, how we make decisions. This is an interesting trend that will come along with other problematics of the new era. But well, we are now on frailty and we need to, why not we will start having problems of fake news, of post-truth, etc. in the field. Why not? What can we do? Well, we need to know how algorithms work, how the searchers, the engine searchers work, to understand that, to educate us, and to educate everyone else on this is the elements that you need to have. This is nicely approached in this really nice book, one of the first ones of those who were tech guys who went out and start writing about how ominous could be technology in this era. We could also do continuous evaluation. I know this is difficult, and a lot of proposals on evaluations are already in place. We need to come together as those experts and what checklists, what we can look at, what if we could have an observatory, if we could use bots, if we could do something similar to Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know, I've been with that idea a number of times. For me, this could be like some frame to how this should look. More traditional, less traditional, low quality, high quality. How can we rate the apps? Of course, the bigger the figure, the more popular the color would signify what kind of what type. So maybe we can do some evaluations regularly. I don't know. So these are some proposals. Get involved. I already got involved, even that I do not have social networks. I do have a podcast with my students and research assistants and start to get the truth out there. If there's a void, someone will feel it. What better if it is also make alliances with younger people. They manage perfectly the social media. Continue a high quality education. We need to not stop this. Do not have resources. If you have an institution and you have the resources, do the high quality education. Do not distract yourself with certifications, with competence-based. Do high quality. Go to the top of Bloom's. Oh, also Frailty seminar, you need a logo. So I could include it here. So finally, in all this, I asked Delphi if not training enough geriatricians with high quality knowledge on Frailty for the future, and Delphi said it's bad. I couldn't agree more with Delphi, and that's my time. And I want to thank Dr. Olga Theou. Her support is unbelievable, Dr. Rothwood, my students, and my research assistant, Mariana, and the leaders of the Instituto Nacional here in Mexico, Geriatria, Dr. Garcia Peña and Dr. Miguel Robredo. So I think we have time for questions, hopefully.
Thank you so much, Ulises. That was very thought-provoking topic on a topic that we're engaged often, but we might not think about it too much. We just engage with all the social media and all these platforms. I will ask the audience, I know some people have been raising their hands, but we can activate microphones here and it's a webinar format. So please add your questions to the Q&A. And I know, Ulises, you had the Slido. Do you want to do the Slido so we can see the results while we're waiting for questions to appear? Or you would prefer to skip it?
If we can send the results later, or I think nobody did it. I
haven't sent it out. I haven't sent it out. So there is you want me to send it out? We haven't sent it out.
Yeah. We can send the results later if you want, or if there are enough now, we can do it too.
I can put the link in the chat for everybody and the code for everybody to respond to this.
If you might see that link, just enter that link and add that code from that we will share, of course.
Yeah, it's in the chat function. So we ask the audience to go to the chat function and see the link and the code. And please, if you can respond to the questions, try to get some answers about how often you're using social media for education. And while people are answering, would you go to the questions too? I'll read them aloud because I don't think everybody can see them. How much time do you think is needed to produce a YouTube video? And generally, who is paying for the cost? Are the sites, the channel sponsors?
Yeah, that's a nice question because there are some sponsors issues, but I mean, you can upload your own video done with your YouTube or your Zoom and at almost no cost. But of course, that will not be the nice video produced with some drawings, but you can start from scratch with really basic stuff on videos on YouTube, similar to podcasts.
And I'm assuming there's no rule about you need to disclose your sponsors, like the way that in our journal articles we are required to disclose our sponsors and conflicts of interest. But I am assuming in the social media and YouTube videos, it's not required in a way. Is that correct?
You don't require. That's correct. You can do it. Yeah.
I'm not suggesting people should do it. I'm just thinking that, which means that when we see material, we don't know sometimes who's the developer, who has been sponsoring, and if there's any disclosures. We're not aware. There's a comment about a very insightful topic and will make me think twice about certain social media outlets. So there's another question. How many of these YouTube videos, podcasts, web pages are content created by scientists and Frailty researchers? And number of users per the content creator could be an interesting metric to track.
The frequency is so low of Frailty researchers that it's not, you cannot even make comparisons. And you can go case by case. I didn't want to show that, and I think I shouldn't do that because visualizations are so very low. Likes are on the floor, and people do not engage, do not comment on that. Yeah.
There's another question. I wonder who is the viewer or customer of the digital platform or social media in Frailty education? Is those are targeting the general audience or specifically target the elderly? Is there a need to differentiate when targeting the patient or the academic community?
Absolutely agreed. As I showed you, the transition went from web pages and other resources that required you to be a professional in healthcare to allowing almost anyone. I mean, you don't need anything to look at YouTube. You don't need anything to do a podcast. So that's problematic. Even if you target differently, that doesn't matter. If you want to understand what you are understanding, you can see the YouTube or listen to the podcast. That's where we enter. That should be targeted. That should be flagged. Somehow we need to have some agreements with people on the media, on the social media, in order to have this regulation on who can see this, who cannot, like the classification ratings of programs and movies. This should be very similar when it comes to health resources.
From the searches you found, the search you did and the resources you found, were most targeting more general public or professionals?
I would say that it transitioned like from 0% only professionals to about 60% general public. Right now, most of the media, it's general public.
Okay. Let me go through some of the questions. Okay. Is there no way to get around the algorithms? Do professionals have any resource for influencing the explosion of misinformation?
I love that question. I'm on it. and as soon as I know, I will let you know, certainly. Yeah.
Is there a way to deactivate the algorithm?
No.
No.
No, I mean, you can deactivate a number of things. You will need to deactivate your Wi-Fi because when it locates you, it will give you biased results according to your location. When you are signed in, so yes, there might be a way but that will be so burdensome. Every time you do a search, you will have to activate and deactivate a number of properties of the search. Yeah, that's quite problematic.
I'm sure you gave some examples, but there's another question. Can you share some good resources for older persons as well as apps for doctors, not geriatricians, to assess frailty? Did you find any? Yeah. I mean, you gave some examples, but do you have any additional resources?
Yeah, I think there's the Canadian Frailty Network has a huge amount of resources. Also, the Frailty and Resilience Research Center from Johns Hopkins also has nice resources. But I think Canadian Frailty Network has more resources focused on caregivers and really high quality. So yeah, I can say that.
Did you see anywhere resources specifically for healthcare professionals, non-geriatric trained? Accumulated resources?
No. Well, I think the Hong Kong researchers have this resource on edX, but it has a cost. So that's the problem with that, yeah.
There's another question. Do you believe that this is the future or part of the future? We have to adapt or we have to adopt?
We have to adapt and we have to adopt. I mean, if some of you know how to do bots, contact me and we will do some dirty work. We need to do both. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Ali.
Great presentation, yeah. Relevant because many students now go to these sources to make topics. The future of medical training. Do you have any recommendations to improve the content and quality of the material on social media, specifically on YouTube?
Yeah, we need to be involved, Ali. Every one of us on the field need to do something aside from what we already are doing, because right at the moment, I think there's nothing else that could do unless we can come together and like have a consortium. I already thought of that too. Like all these initiatives, like the Frailty Seminar Series, could help into gathering really experts on this topic and start working on how to do an observatory or how to keep an eye or build and rotten tomatoes or build some bots. I mean, a mixed thing on top of what we are doing in high quality education. We need to still do that high quality education.
There's another comment. This has been an eye opener for me. Another question. After this analysis, do you think a frailty focused podcast, YouTube video is required? If yes, what type of audience will you target?
That's a great question. I think we need to target all the levels. No doubt we need to target caregivers, general population. Of course, information needs to be different for each level, but we need to target, and you don't need to do it by yourself. That's why I'm saying we need to come together. If you have students, they might talk better to people on their age group. If you by yourself are an expert in frailty, you might start doing something of very high quality with very evidence-based, or just curating or supervising those students. No one can do everything. So we need to start doing every level. I think for now, the professional healthcare is the one saturated. And right now I am much more worried about older adults. I can see, and I've seen a lot of evidence that older adults are using WhatsApp to share information very comfortably and in a very dumb way. I need to say this. And they share a lot of fake news with the WhatsApp. Not on frailty, but right now I would be much more worried about older adults. For me, it's my population. If someone else has an interest in younger people, or even children, do a book, do something. So yeah, we need to do all the levels. Of course, no one can do this alone. We need to come together. I'm sure of that.
Great point. Another comment. Important lessons on how all searches will give the same results depending on your algorithm and location. So basically what we see doesn't mean our patients see. Like they may have a very different results when they search this information. So we might think there's a lot of high quality content out there, but they might not see this based on their algorithm.
Absolutely. That's correct. That's a problem.
Can you comment on content by this social media? Was it easy to understand, or any previous knowledge of frailty is required?
That's a great question. I think most of the material it's understandable by anyone. So you don't need a previous understanding. That's most of the material, and really specialized media. Unfortunately, those are also the high quality. So people are not clicking those. That's a problem. So we need to find like the equilibrium between really good quality evidence-based information and also a nice media. I could just record myself and talk for hours about frailty and wow, this is the perfect and the latest evidence. No one will give a click. And my video will never appear in the searches of YouTube. So that's problematic. So what I am saying is high quality, it's not equal to popularity. And you will find something that you will understand, maybe, but might not be enough information.
And Ulises, from the resources you presented, my sense is that most of them, it's not focusing on frailty. They're more focusing on aging, geriatrics, and they talk about frailty. But some of the examples you gave are frailty focused, but the majority of the resources you found were more general, right? Is that correct?
It's correct. I could say a 70% still is embedded on aging, and a 30% but it's interesting that a 30% is already only frailty. And like the podcast, it's a complete season with a number of episodes just frailty. I love that. I look forward to having something similar, because that's pretty cool. In my point of view, that's what we need. A really nice and appealing for people with really upscale information.
There are definitely more resources than I thought there were. Like, I have to be honest with it. I didn't realize there's so many resources out there focusing on frailty. And some of them are actually very good quality, which is good. it's a good sign. Now, if we don't keep creating, we're going to be overflown by low quality material. So we need to take more control, right?
That was one of the conclusions of the systematic review. It said, just do more. That will make your high in the algorithm. Only by having more high quality, the algorithm will push you up.
Do you have the results from the Slido? I don't know if people actually voted on the poll.
Yeah, we have some results, so I can share with you. So on the question about have you used social media for learning, 78% says yes. They have used social media. And have you ever created? This inverts the answers. So very low creates content. The majority has used content. It's an interesting result.
Thanks for sharing. Let me see if there's any. There's another comment. Unfortunately, I agree that there will not be many clicks of professional material, but can we not use this network for spreading high quality?
That's what I saw. I'm saying we need to come together, and this kind of initiatives. I mean, this has been very successful, and why not use the inertia that it has brought to Frailty?
Thank you for the comment. We'll definitely discuss within our network about that's potentially an area we can target. And we also took Ulises' message about the logo.
Please, please. Yeah.
We have 1 more minute if there's any other burning questions or comments. I think I went through all of them. I apologize if I missed any comment. Okay, yes, we're almost done. So Ulises, I would like to thank you again. That was a very interesting topic that, as I said, a little bit not traditional compared to the other topics we covered in our seminars, but I think a very important one. And maybe we'll bring you back in a year or so to talk to us about TikTok and Twitter and Instagram. But that's another area that's like, it's so much harder to evaluate, right? How education happens in these platforms. And I think it does happen. We harder to evaluate, harder to control, but there is some exchange of knowledge. I don't know if it's education, but there is some knowledge exchange happening. I also would like to thank our audience for participating and for all these very interesting comments and questions. After the end of the presentation, you will receive a survey about today's presentation. Please fill it out, and also don't forget to register for our next session that will be on July 13th. Dr. Gustavo Duke, who is also part of the organizing committee for these Frailty seminars, will present from Australia on osteosarcopenia and frailty. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank you for attending our seminars. Please stay healthy and safe, and enjoy your summer for those who are on vacation, especially who plan to go on vacation.